I've been working with Anne McBride in leading this project run by the British Standard Institution together with the CIPD, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, in trying to create the first British standard on diversity and inclusion.
Diversity and inclusion is a key element that line managers have to deal with and HR professionals have to advise on, and often there is a lack of methodology about how you deal with that and what are the founding principles.
What you want are new ideas, fresh perspectives, and that's where diversity comes in.
I think many organisations do have a policy, but the policy tends to just be issued at the time when people join the organisation. There's often not a great deal of awareness about what that policy is, and there's often very few practices that underpin how that policy is lived and how it's reviewed on a day-to-day basis.
The BSI Diversity and Inclusion standard is that it provides employers, corporate organisations, a framework to have a dialogue with their leadership in order to promote an inclusive approach, but also understand what is their particular context. And in that sense, it's not prescriptive, but it's going to give you some robust principles so that you can develop an action plan that's specific and workable to your organisation.
This standard can help make changes happen because it outlines at sort of different levels of the organization. So for example in hiring, but also in progression and even in dismissals. And so it's not just a sort of piecemeal thing of, we need to recruit a few more Black and minority ethnic people, or we need to progress a few disabled people. It's more about changing the culture even of the organization to ensure that from the top and in all of its decisions that diversity and inclusion is an organizational principle.
People are kind of worried, would this lead to positive discrimination? Here we say that this isn't really about positive discrimination. Certainly it does offer opportunity for positive action, giving people opportunity who maybe are disadvantaged to compete, not to get a job, but to have the chance to get a job.
There's a voluntary code, but what we're hoping is that people will see this as a standard that they want to abide by.
Even if we look at, say, the 30 to 45-year-old population, middle management, even that population is nearly 20% Black and minority ethnic across the UK. And of course at chief executive level or senior management, people in their 50s, even there we don't see enough representation. One of the advantages of the standards is it gets organizations to future-proof and look forward so that they're not just recruiting young graduates who are more diverse and more representative of the populations that they serve, but also looking at creating a pipeline so that middle management starts to look more diverse, and ultimately, of course, so the top management and our leaders of our organizations are more reflective of British society.
There was a good audience here today, and they were very broad. If you look at the registration list, there were people from a lot of different companies, particularly private sector. It was excellent. We are looking for pilots and case studies. People are willing to try it out in their organization. Not just to say we are now certified, but also to say how good are we actually, and maybe how good are we compared to people operating in the same type of context or the same type of industries.